So yesterday we had considered some equations of lines in mx plus b form. So y equals mx plus b. And we found that equation if we were given slope and y-intercept, or if we were given 2 points, or if we were given slope and 1 point. We could plug in and get those two unknowns. So now we're going to consider equations, finding equations where we have more than one line. And the second line is usually going to be parallel or perpendicular to the first line. So here we've got a line y equals negative 1/4 x plus b. So our m here is negative 1/4, that's our slope, and our b is the y-intercept of 1. And we want to know what would be the slope of a line parallel to this line. So let's sketch this line here. So y-intercept of 1, so 1 on the y-axis, fall 1, run 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. So that line looks like that. And we want to know what would be the slope of a line parallel to that. So here's another line that's parallel to that. Well, it's going to have the same steepness of fall 1, run 4. Fall 1, run 4. So the slope of the parallel line is going to be negative 1/4. It's the same. Slope of a line that's perpendicular to this. So perpendicular lines. So let's see, I'll do the line perpendicular that goes through that point right there. So that's our perpendicular line. So right angle right there. And we want to know what is the slope of that line. Well, from here, if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, you'll end up back on that line. So the slope of this line is actually rise 4, run 1. And it is the negative reciprocal, notice, of negative 1/4. So you flip 1/4 to 4 over 1 and then change the negative sign to a positive. So this is positive 4 over 1, which is just 4. So parallel means same slope, and perpendicular here, negative reciprocal. Look at another example here. We've got the equations of 3 lines here. And we want to know for line 1 and line 2, are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? And the same for 1 and 3 and 2 and 3. So, well, we need to find the slopes of these lines. Well, this one's in mx plus b form, so we know that slope is 3/4. And then these two we can put in slope-intercept form. So this one divide through by 3. So that will give you y equals 4/3 x plus 5/3. So there your slope is 4/3, the coefficient of x. And then this one we need to solve for y, so we will subtract 8x on both sides. That'll come over as a negative. So 6y is equal to negative 8x plus 2. And then we'll divide all the way across by 6. So these guys will cancel. That will give us y equals 3 is a common factor, 2 is a common factor top to bottom. Give us a 4 left there and a 3 there. So negative 4/3 x plus 2/6, which is 1/3, but we just care about the slope, negative 4/3. Okay, so we got our 3 slopes here. So 1 and 2, so these two guys, they're not the same, so they're not parallel. They're negatives of each other, but they're not negative reciprocal. We would need to flip this one to negative 3/4. So they are not parallel, they're not perpendicular. These would have to be neither. 1 and 3, so we've got 4/3 here and 3/4. So they're not the same, so they're not parallel. These are reciprocals, but they're not negative reciprocals. So they're not perpendicular, 1 and 3 are also neither. And then 2 and 3, so we got a negative 4/3 and a positive 3/4. So they are not the same, so they're not parallel. And we see 3/4, negative 4/3. That's a reciprocal and a negative. They're negative reciprocals. So these guys are perpendicular. So there again, they didn't ask us for equations. We're just working with equations that were given.